Disclaimer: the following program features language not suitable for all audiences, and the expressed opinions found within this program are a reflection of those who feature on the PopCulture Effect podcast. Welcome to the PopCulture Effect. I'm Rockin Rob, and on this show, I bring my closest friends together to talk about all the news happening in our pop culture world around us.
Welcome to the PopCulture Effect. My name is Gemini, and today I'm joined by two of my greatest friends. We've got Tyler over in that corner.
Hello.
And we've got Rockin Rob in the other.
I'm in my gremlin corner.
Oh, get out of my f***ing corner, you idiot!
Okay, I'm sorry. It's been so lonely these past few weeks. Okay,
leave the corner for 5 minutes to start this damn shit, and you take my spot.
You say it's lonely, but to everybody else, we've still been here.
Yeah, I know, but I had to drag and Trent in here to talk about the horrible Lilo and Stitch movie. It's been lonely, okay?
Yeah, you did have to drag me, bitch.
I know you guys talked about it, but I saw the trailer for that yesterday, and when she points to Stitch, when she's trying to tell her that she's got a dog, she points past the chair that he's sitting in and points to the ground.
Yeah.
You gotta love live action movies
child
where
actors that shouldn't be actors.
She's trying. She's trying. She's a child.
You can't point at a puppet?
And you can't have adults play the part of children?
Let's not get into that.
Yeah, that's a conversation. That's a can of worms
I already
left
have
closed.
a mess.
Yeah,
I already have a lot of opinions about Hollywood and their actors in Hollywood and casting direction. Anyway.
You know, I was initially going to talk about the Thunderbolts movie, but I think it'd be best if I wait until next week to discuss it with everybody else, because right now I want to talk about the trailer of the new Warner Brothers horror movie, Weapons. Now, this is a very interesting concept because, you know, it's your typical horror movie where one night, an entire classroom disappears except for one of the students, and nobody knows why. And apparently all the children got up at specifically 2:17 a.m. and walked out of their houses and into the night darkness to who knows where, and apparently they are quite exuberant in their gallivanting. They show a lot of not only just child violence but child endangerment, because some of them are like getting hit by cars. And yeah, I'm really interested to see this because, you know, media really shies away from violence towards like the kid actors, and honestly I feel like this is kind of the role they need, where they don't need to be the actor, they don't need to talk, they don't need to have dialogue, they just need to be kids, they need to run around, they need to hopefully feel natural in this environment. And I hope that it's not like, I hope these kids are knowing what they're signing up for is all I'll say about that. I know Gemini has a lot of perspectives and opinions on that, but yeah, this movie looks to be really cool. I love the intrigue and the mystery behind what hypnotic force is kind of slowly taking over the town. Something a little bit similar to Uzumaki, which I both hate saying because of the manga and really find humorous in terms of the anime. But yeah, I'm at least excited when this kind of comes out on August 8th. I know it's a little bit of a wait before this comes out. And, you know, of course, Warner Brothers, they would cancel all their other projects that they had going on. But, you know, they'll keep this trailer alive, and, you know, they'll keep Final Destination's Bloodlines alive, which is going to come out soon. And you'll probably hear me talk about it very soon. But you know what? At the end of the day, I can put aside my corporate greed anger around this with the fact that they're canceling other projects for other projects, and who knows if this one will even come out at the end of it, but we're all being hopeful at the end of the day. But yeah, like I said, the intrigue behind why the kids went missing is kind of going to be the driving force. I want to say right now that the actress behind the teacher is doing a really good job in her role, expressing just the fear and distraught, not only at the fact that her kids are just gone, but also the fact that, you know, all the parents are like, hey, why did this happen? And why was it just her class? This is very, very weird. Nobody's gonna have questions for the one kid that's still around, you know, everybody's only gonna have questions for the teacher, because that's how these movies go, because the people are dumb. But I hope they're at least dumb enough to get the deaths that they kind of will probably get at this movie, because this looks very violent. This looks to be a very, I don't even want to say gory, because I don't think we'll actually see any type of mutilation or anything like that, but this is going to be a violent movie. Like, we're going to see a lot of really crazy stuff in this movie, from kids jumping through windows to apparently one vomiting into a guy's face, so that's also something. But I just hope that the true questions are answered, i.e., what is the principal gonna do about this, you know? Like, is he gonna call the cops? Probably not. I hope he does, but you know how these movies go. Nobody ever, you know, calls the cops, informs the authority, gets, like, the FBI, like, the actual investigators involved. Everybody just has to trust that, we can solve it as a small town community, even though there's a murderer around, and it's like they need to get people who are capable of dealing with that stuff to handle it. But then, you know, there wouldn't be a plot, so there goes your whole point of a movie. But anyways, that's pretty much everything I have to discuss when it comes to weapons, and I really hope this performs well. I hope that the kid actors are kind of just relegated to the enemy, so they don't have to do any of the talking or acting. They kind of can just, like I said, roam and be just animalistic in certain terms, and the brunt of the acting can be on the adults, as it always should. But seriously, what is the principal gonna do about this? Jeez. But again, that's pretty much everything I have to discuss. So at this point, I think it is time for me to send it back to me and Gemini as we discuss some more of that Nintendo Switch 2 news. And that's kind of why I want to transition into the next part of the conversation piece, which is the games, because the games, it's disgusting. So to start off, like I said, in the bundle, Mario Kart World is $50, and it's one of the only games that they have actually like put out confirmation about a price point, and it's $80, and that's
disgusting. Because like how I mentioned earlier, Inzoi at its release for early access was $40, which for an early access game that is a little hefty, but it comes with a lot. And like in comparison to AAA games that are $60 to $70, that's cheap. Like it hurts to say that that's cheap, but 90, 80 to 90, close to 100. I'm sorry.
Like if
for a base game,
like if this is just their first party games and they want to justify it somehow, sure. But I can guarantee you that one, you're gonna get a lot of fan backlash, because if you do have it for the mainline, your first party games, it's going to alienate how many people are able to buy it, especially nowadays. And not going to get political, but Jesus Christ. To get back to the mainline games are $80, but if they spread that to every game, especially with some of the games I want to get to, but if they start spreading this price point to every single game that they have on the Switch, it's not going to look good, because the only game that is somewhat cheaper is what I'm assuming is so the Nintendo Switch put out this game, and it is essentially like Nintendo Switch 2, the tutorial, where you actually get to like be a little person on the big Switch, and you get to look around at all the different little things and doodads, and you get to learn about the Switch, right? And I'm thinking, oh great, this will be a lovely game to have as a launch title on every base Switch, so everybody is able to learn how to do the Switch. And then they announced it was going to be a paid digital, and they're making you pay for a tutorial. We're getting to the point where we're paying for tutorials.
Jesus Christ.
This is not okay. This is why I'm not buying the Switch. Even if the game is $30, that's outrageous. It's outrageous to sell a tutorial game for $30. Like some of these other games. What's it called again? Switch 2 Welcome Tour. Oh, it costs $10. But still, that's egregious. Like, it should be a free install on the base Switch too. But some of these other games, if they get given, you're talking about the FromSoft game, right?
I am.
Duskblood.
That's depressing. That's depressing.
Don't worry, I'll get to it. I'll get to it. But there are a couple of games I want to discuss first. I'm kind of saving that one for last.
Sorry.
But no, you're good. You're good. You were curious. I got no problem with that. The one thing about these games, to get back to my main point, is if they spread this price point to the other third-party games, this is not going to be good. Because if it's for Mario Kart World and Donkey Kong Bonanza, which Donkey Kong Bonanza is essentially their spiritual successor to Mario Odyssey. It's a 3D Donkey Kong game. It looks great. That's all about as much as I can say about it, because, it's like Mario Odyssey again, with destructible environments and Donkey Kong being a world destroyer. But Mario Kart World has this weird roam feature where you could just drive around all of the tracks. Why would you want to do that? That's kind of pointless, honestly. There's a whole bunch of other announcements, like Silk Song got a release date, like it's gonna be this year, we're gonna get Silk Song. I can't believe they just threw that announcement in with a bunch of other collection of announcements. The games are okay, but my main point that I want to get to for the games is we're getting a FromSoft exclusive, and nobody else is gonna get it, and it's Duskbloods, and I know that a lot of my friends care very deeply about FromSoft IP, and it's kind of depressing that Nintendo's just hoarding one all for themselves.
I mean, it's not the first time they've done it. Sony also has their grubby little pause on another one, which sucks. So it's not the first time FromSoft has done this, where they allow a specific game company to have an exclusive. Actually, no, that Sony has two. That's right. Sony has two of their exclusives with their grubby little paws. So Nintendo now has one, and that's. I still don't get the point of, like, console exclusives anymore. Like, yeah, I get it. It's to entice people to get into their console, but, like, why the Nintendo Switch?
Yeah, well, no, because my personal belief is Nintendo believes that they are expecting to get low sales on this console, so they have to do whatever they can, i.e. put out a Mario Odyssey sequel, put out a Mario Kart sequel. Oh, by the way, one of their first-party games that utilizes the mouse function on both the controllers. You're essentially a paraplegic robot playing basketball in a wheelchair.
Sure, thing.
Yeah.
I mean, I guess I can see that. They're probably, again, they're trying to cast a wide net. That's what they're doing. And as I stated before, that backfires a lot of times more recently than anything. Because, yeah, I also pulled up the list of, like, the Nintendo Switch 2 games, and it is all over the place. What the
It's crazy.
Cyberpunk 2077?
Oh, yeah, I completely forgot. I forgot Cyberpunk's coming on the Switch too. It's like, what?
You got Cyberpunk, you got Civ 7, which fair enough, Civ 6 was on the Switch, so that's actually Borderlands 4?
Oh, right.
Excuse me?
Yeah.
Like,
and to the credit, it looks like the gameplay looks fairly good, looks fairly smooth.
Sonic X Shadow Generations?
Well, I expected that to come out for
Star Wars Outlaws? I don't follow Star Wars.
There's a whole bunch of others. I'm trying to think of other ones. Like I said, Silk Song is gonna be coming.
Hawk's Pro Skater 3 and 4.
Oh, right. Yeah. Damn, I forgot about that one.
Oh, which Brook does look like
Metroid
is Yakuza 0? Yakuza?
Oh, yeah, Yakuza. Not Metroid, that's for...
And also, we've got EA getting in on this, too. On this dumpster of a bullshit. You got EA Sports FC, Madden NFL, NBA 2K, and WWE 2K.
Oh, that's right. They're gonna bring their terrible WWE 2K games to the console. It's gonna be great.
So they're literally like whoring themselves out. Hitman.
Oh yeah, they're putting everything on it.
They're literally whoring themselves out in hopes that like someone is going to. Because not only that, they then have like Elden Ring, the Tarnished Edition, which apparently seems like it's like. What? It's their Switch variant of Elden Ring.
It's crazy that they don't have a Splatoon 4 to announce for this console.
Yeah, like...
Out of all the announcements, they didn't have Splatoon 4?
They just have a lot of...
Like, they put out Metroid 4 gameplay. Like, they actually showcased some of it.
But... Hogwarts Legacy?
Oh, yeah, that's right. Hogwarts Legacy. Yeah.
This is like an all over the place. Like,
because they want to put as many top tier AAA titles as they can fit on it, because they've also increased the size of it. But in the Switch 1, you could have a max of 8 games. Now you could have like 8 times that.
Yeah, admittedly, I would not consider Hogwarts Legacy to be like a top tier game. I played that. It was an experience, but I wouldn't consider that top tier.
No, I guess I was meaning like top tier in the sense of the zeitgeist view on games. Like, oh, Hogwarts Legacy, that's a popular game.
I mean, yeah, it was popular for its time. Like, before it came out, everyone was like talking about it in one instance or another for specific reasons. But like, usually when you see like the game list for Switch games, it's very like, you see a lot of the same title. Which, again, Nintendo has its reputation, and that's fine, but these are titles that you would not see on a Nintendo Switch like game list.
But the one game I do want to talk about, because it literally is it's singing to my heart, Kirby Air Riders. Like, we're finally getting a Kirby Air Ride game, but not even just that. Way back at the end of Super Smash Bros. Ultimate, Masahiro Sakurai stopped game development and he switched to being a YouTuber to post videos about him, like talking about game development, and then that wrapped up because he had another project in mind. Masahiro Sakurai is returning to develop this game, and we're essentially getting two kart racers on this console, with Kirby Air Riders being, if you didn't play it, it was a game on the GameCube, and it's very fast-paced, kind of F-Zero-esque, kind of funny because they announced a GameCube collection for the Switch Online support that includes an F-Zero game and Wind Waker and probably a couple other games, but who cares? They're making, like I've been saying, they're making their online support system have every game they've ever made, so that way their console can just have every game. They don't have to have backwards compatibility.
I guess, but like,
I know it ruins the whole have physical media and value physical media. It's just, oh, get this download code, and you'll have access to it until you don't. Which actually kind of brings me to my next point, because these games, when we're talking about the physical cart that is $10 than the digital cart, when you get it, it's not even a game cart. It's just a piece of plastic with an online digital code that allows you access to the game files when you log in with Wi-Fi.
Wait, what?
Yeah, it's not even a game. It's just it's a plastic stand-in to give you a connection to what the game is.
Dude, that sounds so stupid.
Yeah.
To be fair, I've always hated the Switch cartridge, the cases, because the few games that I did get for my Switch, and by few I mean I think like 2 of the physical copy, I hate how wasteful it is. It's like such a big case for such a little piece of plastic.
That's what they should have adopted from the 3DS. That's what they should have adopted from the DS cartridge
They were little
container.
cute. They were little squares. Tiny little squares. Like, yeah, they were still a little big for it, but like, it was half the size.
Smaller. Like, literally half the size. Yeah,
now it's literally like the size of almost a whole CD for just a tiny little piece of plastic that...
Oh, but you want to make sure the Switch is seen as a main a top-level gaming console that rivals Xbox and Sony. Well, then you gotta make sure your cases match up and are roughly the same size.
I'm sorry. I don't care how many defenders are, I don't care how many fans are out there for Nintendo and are gonna stand there and say, stop attacking the multi-billionaire company. Wah, wah, wah. I'm sorry, Nintendo's consoles are never going to compare to Xbox and Microsoft and Sony's. I'm sorry, they never will, because they're just so far behind that by the time they even get close to what the current generation of consoles are doing, they're gonna be beyond. They're gonna be out in space, and they can try, but I honestly think Nintendo was just better off as sticking to what they were and what they have been for the longest time, which is a more calm, family-friendly, cozy kind of gaming experience. But they honestly just kind of need to stick with that.
And then they charge an arm and a leg for it, as if
everything costs an arm and a leg. So that part's almost a little hard to, avoid, but they don't need to be bumping it up to almost $100 per game. That there is ridiculous. The only time I can ever see that being a good idea or even excusable, and even then it's a very slim thing of excusability, is when they are gold, ultra editions, gold editions of games, where it's you get the base game and you get extra tidbits of something, whether it's exclusive content and all this other shit that you see of games where it's oh, you can get the base game, or you can pay an extra $30 to $40, which bumps it up to about $100, and you get all this exclusive content content. Sometimes it could be, cosmetic. Sometimes it could be something else. It's whatever. But like, that's the only time I can see paying that much. And even then, that's a very slim excuse.
Well,
but just for the base game itself, $100, that. Mm-mm.
Well, what's funny about that, you say $30 specifically. It's a very interesting number you chose because, you can play Nintendo Switch 2 games. You can play old Nintendo Switch, like old certain Nintendo Switch 1 games, but there's a third option that Nintendo is offering. You can take certain Nintendo Switch titles, pay $30, and you get an upgraded version. So Breath of the Wild, Tears of the Kingdom, these types of games are getting the deluxe treatment for a $30 bump. Just so that way you could play Breath of the Wild in 60 frames or 120 frames at 4K, So it's yet another upcharge on top of a game you already own to play on the console to get that upgrade of visuals, which I know we are already subject to in the Xbox community with the XS version, upgraded versions, but it's just sad to see that Nintendo is kind of following in that.
That's... I already didn't really care for Nintendo, mostly because a lot of their games just never aligned with what I found fun. Like, yeah, I enjoy Legend of Zelda. Ocarina of Time will always be the best one. Breath of the Wild was fun. Tears of the Kingdom was garbage. I'll always play Mario Party, or not Mario Party. I hate Mario Party. I will always play Mario Kart as like an option if that's there. Like, dude, Mario Kart Double Dash was the first game I ever played on the GameCube. That was the first game I ever maybe not played, but like owned. That was the first one I ever owned. So like Mario Kart also holds like a very special place in my heart. But like, as I guess you could say, a Nintendo, I'm not really a hater, but just more like Nintendo critical individual. These are very bad plays on Nintendo's part. I don't know where the they're coming with. And I understand within the aspect of the United States and a lot of the things that have been happening on our end with the tariffs and everything, I understand that is causing some problems. However, I still don't feel that is excusable for them to be charging so much money for a lot of this stuff.
Yep, but it's Nintendo. They can pretty much get away with anything now because they are one of the most successful video game companies in the entire world.
But like, as I stated, I'm sorry, their console will never be able to properly compete, because that's kind of how it's always been. Sony and Microsoft compete with each other to see who's better because they're relatively neck and neck, and that was one of the reasons why they would have console exclusives to entice people to say, oh, you like this game, well, how about you play it on the Xbox because it's only on the Xbox, or like with you like Bloodborne or you like FromSoft games, here's Bloodborne, here's Demon Souls, it's on PlayStation, so that was understandable. I know I said like console exclusive or dumb and I don't understand it, but I kind of do. It's like in that instance, that's completely fine because they were competing with each other. Nintendo's always been in its own little bubble doing its own thing. Why is it trying to invade this now?
Right.
It was doing fine on its own. And they had their own monopoly.
And it's especially egregious that now with like I said, I'm disinterested in getting this, and I'm more leaning to get a Steam Deck because Sony put out some of their exclusives on Steam. Like, I can play both Xbox and Sony games and Steam games on a Steam Deck, but with the Switch 2, I'm locked behind whatever games they deem appropriate to port over.
That's why I don't understand why they're doing this, because they were completely successful and fine with their own little bubble. Yeah, every once in a while they would get like a port of like one of the other titles over onto their game, and maybe it would do well, maybe it wouldn't, but like they were completely fine with a lot of the titles they already had. Like Mario, like the Mario games have always done well. Same with Legend of Zelda. All of their titles have done well. Why are they needing to invade all of a sudden the other bubble when their own has been doing fine? Like, again, I don't know. They're kind of shooting themselves in the foot, honestly.
I just think this is going to be really reflectory in like how many pre-orders that this console gets. Like, I feel like that's going to really reflect how disinterested people are, like people as in like not the kid family that is gonna buy this console, like the only
the
people
giga hardcores
or the content creators. Those are the only people that are gonna be buying these consoles.
And honestly, most of them will probably get like partnerships to where they'll send it for free or they'll get a massive discount to, speak highly of it, which, I mean, there's nothing wrong with that. They need money too, and that's how they get it, through sponsorships. I know a lot of people like to shit on content creators when they get sponsored and paid to like, you know, advertise a company's product, but like that's how like a good chunk of them make money aside from ad revenue and everything. But like they got to make money too. Don't get mad just because someone's being a sellout.
Right.
Like it's annoying, and I usually always skip it, and I have ad blocker on my computer, but that's besides the point. You know, so yeah, in that instance, yeah, but they're not going to be making a lot of money if it's like for that with content creators getting sponsorships. If anything, that's kind of losing money. But yeah, like they're definitely going to lose sales from the more common individual.
Well, yeah,
like the casual fan.
Well, yeah, because the price point is just out of reach, especially in today's day. It's just hard to put away not only $450 for the console itself, but probably $50 for the camera, $50 for or like $80 for the Pro controller, probably another $50 for the headset that they eventually reveal. Probably
$80 to $100 for the game.
Each game, and if you get physical copies, that's $90. It's too expensive.
I saw a little meme comic someone drew not too long ago, actually a couple days ago, of Bowser and Bowser Jr. And it was Bowser Jr. being like, "Dad, can I get a Switch too?" Bowser's like, he's like, "I am a single father. I can't afford that." It was so funny, but so sad. Like, because that's probably what is happening. These kids are probably like, "Oh my God, Mom, Dad, I want a Switch too." And then they look at the price and they're like, "Oh, little Timmy,
like,
I don't."
That's gonna be your next 6 years birthday present. Are you sure, little Timmy?
Yeah, it's like, "Little Timmy, do you want this or do you want to go to college?"
Yeah, do you want to go to college? Literally, no, but literally though. And that's, I think that's kind of the capper to this, is the fact that yes, this Switch is good visually. The games are gonna look beautiful. They're gonna do the creative thing that they always will do because they are Nintendo. But due to the pricing and due to certain choices and certain consequences that may result from those choices, I think a lot of people are either gonna choose to not get this console or just turn to content creators for that like engagement and sense of like intrigue into it.
Yeah, honestly, because like this is ridiculous. This is getting ridiculous.
Yeah, but it's Nintendo.
And
This is what was gonna happen.
Because here's another slippery slope that could happen with this. If by some ungodly stroke of bad luck it works out for them, and I say bad luck for us, because if it works out for them, this then gives gaming companies this gives them full leeway to then follow in their footsteps and charge $80 to $100 for their next releases type.
Not just that, blank discs. You
Yeah.
get a blank disc that you only get access to through the Xbox network or through the PlayStation network.
Exactly. So this is also a gateway to then allow these companies to think it's okay to jack up their prices for a game that at this point, with how game releases have been would be dog shit and they're almost like they're not even complete games.
So I think a closing statement would be, hey, whoever's listening to this, don't get the Switch to send a message to not only Nintendo, but every other gaming company that this is not okay. We want to own our physical games. We want to play a console where we're not terrified for our lives and safety in a weird environment where you're allowing unregistered, unmonitored systems, and then you also just put out a bunch of releases and you're like, oh, it's worth it, but you're gonna pay almost $100 for it. It's like, is it really? You pick out 6 games, boom, there's the console price. It's like, what are you doing?
We live in a cursed timeline.
We do, but I think it's best that we leave it at that, because at this point we're just torturing ourselves talking about Nintendo, because they're just in their limestone castles counting their money, their pre-order bonuses, and they're
limestone.
just wait. I don't know. I feel is limestone a valuable mineral? Is it not? Is it? I
don't think so.
Wait, what's
limestone valuable? Is limestone valuable?
There's one like.
I mean, it's valuable in the sense where it's like a very versatile construction. Don't you mean they're gilded?
Yeah, gilded. Like I was thinking, like I was just thinking this. I don't know what I was thinking, but like they're up there in their ivory towers. Their ivory towers. I'll use that illustration. Just waiting to announce the next Smash Bros. Deluxe. Oh, you can get Smash Bros. Ultimate. Oh, but it's $30 more, and you get maybe a new stage or two, and that's it. And then you're gonna be happy because that's all we do. We're just like, eat the food, piggy, and we're like, yes sir, oink oink. I don't know where I think I'm going mad. I think I've literally gone insane from this Nintendo Switch like reveal.
Happens to the best of us.
But I think that's pretty much it, you know.
Yeah.
And all I will say is, how dare you? How dare you take From Software and make them an exclusive? How dare you take Dustblood's away? Well, I mean, PC is gonna mod it. It's they're gonna like emulate it. They're gonna find a way to get it on PC. But
oh yeah, like a lot of these games, it will be found a way to. Oh boy, do I hear the Caribbean off in the distance? Oh boy.
Anyways,
do I hear some sea shanties in the distance?
Now, some more new information came out as basically their new game key cards, the one where it's only a digital code, are only going to be for select games, which is great. Now, there's another issue with game sharing for the Switch 1, which could potentially leak into the Switch 2, but you could check out GameChamp 3000's 30-minute rant about it. Oh, and I guess the Switch 2 has a proper built-in fan ventilation system now instead of whatever tiny vents the Switch 1 had, which I may not have mentioned last week, but I wanted to bring it up here just to make sure I covered all my bases. Speaking of price increases, you know, I was having a really fun time talking about Weapons, you know, a new horror film, and you know, I always love violence with children because they never have the balls to do it in media, but apparently what Microsoft does have the balls to do is increase their prices on every one of their products worldwide. This is huge. I'm an Xbox gamer, and this is going to be a big hit to those of you that haven't upgraded to the next generation of consoles, and it's kind of scary how steep these price increases are, especially in the landscape we're in, because apparently they say they haven't acknowledged it or not, but it doesn't seem like they're saying that this is because of the tariffs, but you never know, and that's all I'll say about it. Now, to get into these prices, I want to say first off, these are US prices, so of course the Canadian price is going to be far more because our currency is kind of trash. But to get into it, the Xbox Series X, the digital version is going to be $549, with the regular version being $600. The Elite controllers are going to go to $150, with the wireless base controllers going to be jumping up to $70, with the wireless controllers jumping up to $70, and even the headsets are being increased by $10, so you're going to be paying $120 for it. Now, I can understand from a business perspective, you need to increase the price of your product. At a certain point, that's just something that you do depending on the market you're in. But my problem with this is some people haven't upgraded to the Series X, so they'll have to get a Series X and a controller and a headset and probably a Xbox Live account, and as a whole, that's just far too much money. That's like almost $1,000. They did this because of Nintendo. I'm just saying the quiet thing out loud right now. They did this because they announced all their price increases between their consoles and their games. They've done this, they've set this standard, and Microsoft has swooped in to be like, we're doing this exact same thing. And it's also reaching the Microsoft games because now they will cost $80 for like AAA titles like Call of Duty, stuff like Gears of War, State of Decay, that type of video game. And I believe this is going to trigger a global indie market craze because you know how bad game developers have been just demonstrably abused by companies. We've talked about it for I don't know how many weeks if you go back long enough, but we are going to see so many more indie developers sprout up because this is ridiculous. $80 US for a AAA game is going to lead into people not buying AAA games and people going to indie developers to get content and to get games, or maybe people will just stop playing video games. Honestly, that might be another alternative, and I just believe this is going to, yes, lead to a lot of good profits, but I also believe this is going to have an adverse effect not only on the consumer, but on the scalping market, because you know when it comes to pre-orders, with how Nintendo got absolutely destroyed with pre-orders for the Nintendo Switch 2, most of them were probably picked up by scalpers and then immediately put on for resale for hundreds of more dollars than they were initially put there for. So this is just an incentive for scalpers to charge even more. And and there are so many more price increases, and it affects every single version of the Xbox console. It's going to be affecting probably a majority of the games, at least their main AAA games. Who knows what the pricing will be for the indie game or the AA game, whatever the mid game that isn't getting the full that isn't getting the full budget or pomp and circumstance around, but it is still a decent game, just lower budget and lower scope. But the fact that even the headsets are getting hit, with the wired headset being $65, like this, not only is this going to be bad, this is going to be horrible for us Canadians because it's going to be so much more. I'm trying not to think about the Canadian conversion. That's why I've kind of stuck with the US numbers that I'm looking at, but I don't want to think about the Canadian currency conversion because it will make me sad and it will make me not want to be an Xbox fan. So at this point, I'm going to end my rant, but man, do companies love just increasing the price of everything when we are kind of at a point where the cost of living is at an all-time high. But yeah, that's pretty much everything I have to discuss, or at least rant about, when it comes to Microsoft raising their prices. I didn't even get a chance to talk about the fact that PlayStation also did it to a lesser extent in a smaller market, but Microsoft did it globally, and I'm a Microsoft fan, so that's why I kind of talked about that. But yeah, I think at this point, I think it's time for me to send it back to me and Gemini to end this week's episode. Anyways, that's, like I said, that's pretty much everything we have to discuss for this week and all other subsequent weeks that this session is attached to, because holy shit, we went for 2 whole hours. That's crazy. Thank you so much, Menace, for joining me.
Oh yeah, always a fun time.
And thank you so much, Gemini.
A pleasure as always.
And now it's time to... Whoa, I almost did my corner outro. Whoa.
Don't forget the plug.
Yeah, I forgot all about the plug. If you're watching on YouTube, make sure to like, comment, and subscribe. If you're checking us out on the CJSW network, make sure to check out all the other lovely programming they have to offer. And that's it for us this week, so we will see you in the next one. Farewell.
Bye-bye.